Hello everyone, this is DavidViadel23 and welcome to the Mandrago's Cave. Today we are gonna learn what is Brainstorm, to learn how to brainstorm. For all of those not knowing what brainstorm is, basically the same word is giving us some clues, is basically a storm of ideas. This is what is normally used in movies, in comics, in books, in every kind of creative process to find an idea, okay? And as I explained right now, what we are gonna do is drop here on the page a lot of information, a lot of words, and from these words we are gonna create this brainstorm. You will see as it goes evolving, and then we will find a topic, we can find a type of thing that we are gonna make, okay? So this video is obviously for beginners, but maybe there are people more advanced that they don't know how to brainstorm, so this can be applied as well. This video as well is part of a playlist, a collection of videos that I'm gonna be putting here on learn how to draw, in the sense of, for example, for art people, for concept art people, for character designer people, environment artists, so all the artsy type of people that is coming here to the channel can find this video useful, okay? So as you can see, we are gonna say here brainstorm, okay? We have this space more or less that we are gonna use today, and I think I'm gonna go so you can see it a little bit more clear with fine liner. You don't need anything to do this, anything fancy. You can do it with pencil and paper, with pen and paper. You can do it in your tablet, you can do it on your phone. If you have some kind of app that you can draw a little bit or do some kind of doodles or scratches on the device, like we want to take notes, like a map, okay? So, brainstorm. So, I'm a person, I'm an art director, I'm a creative director, or I'm the person, the producer, bringing the money to make this movie, for example, and I'm talking with creative people to see what are we gonna do this movie about, what topics, or normally, you as someone who is employed in a project, you will have this information already given to you. But if you want to start your own project, you will have to do this on your own, okay? So let's say things that I want my story to have. For example, I want my story to have something to do, for example, with pirates. You know, I really like One Piece, so I'm gonna write here pirates. I'm gonna write here, for example, powers, superpowers, no? Powers or superpowers. I'm gonna write here, for example, nature, for example, nature. I'm gonna write here books. Okay, as you can see, the list is getting bigger. Superpowers, nature, pirates, books. Let's say fantasy can be a topic. Fantasy, it can have sci-fi, science fiction, things about it as well. It could be something futuristic, maybe. It could be something classic, maybe as well. I want to write classic here, some hints of classic pirate story, for example, or I don't know, it can be adventure. Adventure, it can have monsters. So I'm already having this idea of something pirate, something superpowers, something monsters, okay, but what about we put some books, we can have investigation as well. And this, as you can see, is quite focused, what I'm doing at the moment, so you understand that everything is already connected, but in theory, you are starting from scratch and you don't have any idea of what you want to do, so probably here you can write as well. I wrote pirates directly because it's the first thing that came to my mind, because you know, here in the channel we have a lot of One Piece videos about pirates, but you can say, for example, blacksmith, you can say here, for example, police, or you can be talking about This is just how you do the thing, just thinking. What else can you do? You can say, for example, mythology. Mythology. You can say, for example, office work, for example. You can write, for example, here references from movies or from stories that you like, that your creation that you're gonna make can drink from them. Like, for example, we can write here One Piece, for example, some things about One Piece, Lord of the Rings, Narnia, a little bit, Harry Potter, for example. We can say samurais. Okay, these are random words that we are writing here, and as you can see, we are making this bubble of information, this brainstorm that we need to clean as we go. Okay, we can think about, for example, colors. Let's say red, blue. We can say, for example, forest, darkness, deep sea, for example. We can say things like, I don't know, we're talking about mythology, we can say Kraken, for example. We can say Cyclops. We can write here Centaurs as well. Like keywords that they are coming to my head like this. We can think about, for example, strictness. Maybe someone is going to be very strict in this story. We don't know. We don't know what's going to happen. This is just a storm of ideas, a storm of words here. Okay. We can say things like art. We can say something about real world, for example. We can write here real world references. Animals. We want to use animals in some aspects, in some sense. For example, we can use, for example, a rat. Something with a rat, for example, or something with a lion, for example, like things that I could create a mix, maybe, you know, have like this kind of mix of ideas. So we have here some information, okay? And what we want to do now is select, okay? So we have, I'm going to take another color, for example, now, in this case red, to mark the key words that, this is just a very small example. Normally you can take like a A3 paper, do a massive drawing of this, and have a lot of words and start, because as we are talking pirates, superpower, monsters, things, all of this is more related, but you can go to things like, you know, firefighters, we write their police, we're writing cowboys, for example. We're gonna even put it here as well, you know, like for example, cowboys, let's say Halloween, and we can write here island, for example, let's say island, and we can write here, for example, robots, many things, okay? So this is brainstorm. So what you do next when you have so many words already is to start to select, as I said. You take one color to point in this map, in this mix, what is gonna be the things that you actually want from here, okay? So for me, for example, I want something that is in this idea connected to adventure. I want to do something that is an adventure. Me personally, I will do maybe something fantasy. It could have a little bit of science fiction as well. I think I would fancy something related to maybe lions, okay? So if I'm selecting lions, I should find, there was one nature here as well, something relating with nature. So fantasy, science fiction, nature, adventure, lion, okay? So we can find another word, like what's gonna happen here is gonna be some darkness. I wrote darkness, but it's darkness, like some darkness as well here, for example. Then you start developing this map, okay? So there are other words that I want to take in consideration, for example, for this, like, for example, is my story gonna be, for example, about samurais in this aspect? Okay, it could be samurais, could be pirates, could be about the police, it could be a classic. So I wanna have, let's say, some classic references maybe. So I wanna be able to maybe select some classic references from the samurais, okay, like maybe the outfits could be, it could be the weapons, it could be the bushido, the way, and the strictness. For example, we wrote the strictness around here as well, the strictness, for example, of the samurai. For example, it could be my main topic I wanna say, for example, okay. Then I wrote some examples, like, for example, samurais, classic, strictness. That can be my base. And then I have other words floating around, so I can take another color. Let's say my story is gonna be focused in samurais with a flair for the classic. There is a lot of strictness there, okay. And then I can say there are other keywords, like I wanna add for the samurais some sort of fantasy, okay. So in this fantasy I can connect other words, okay. In this fantasy I selected lions, I selected science fiction here, okay. So within the fantasy and the science fiction, okay, that I'm gonna be connecting, like, for example, if you have watched the Disney movie, the Treasure Planet, this is an adaptation from the Treasure Island book, and this is a story about Captain Flint and Jim, and they are futuristic pirates that the ships can fly and everything. So in my mind now we can do something similar, samurais, classic, strictness, some fantasy, science fiction, but my samurais, maybe because I selected lion here, maybe I'm interested, and with the topic of animals there, I'm interested that maybe my main character is gonna be a lion, for example, and this lion, it could be obviously anthropomorphic animal that can talk, that can behave like a human, okay? So this will go into the realm of fantasy. Maybe this lion, how I'm processing this information, maybe this lion is gonna be, because I selected science fiction somehow, so samurai, science fiction, lion, maybe the lion is gonna have some sort of biomechanic, maybe limb, maybe the arms are gonna be biomechanic, or half of the head is gonna be biomechanic, for example. So we can start doing this brainstorm, okay, and having some words, keywords marked, that as we go, as we are talking to ourselves, talking to the paper, we are defining a topic. As you can see, I started more One Piece with pirates, monsters, superpowers, nature. So it's easier for you to understand because the channel is mostly about One Piece videos, but you see how the story starts fidgeting, one side, another side, going towards samurais, for example, okay, and all this type of story. So because I marked darkness and adventure, I am telling myself, yes, my story, let's select, for example, another color, yes, my story, I want my story to be an adventure, yes or yes. My samurai is not gonna be a office worker, for example. My samurai is not gonna be a blacksmith, for example. I wanna focus in the samurai aspect, in the warrior aspect, for example. It's gonna be an adventure. She's gonna go probably trying to hunt some creatures, okay, some enemies from nature. Maybe the nature is corrupted with darkness somehow, because fantasy and some kind of mysticism there, okay? So this as well will bring some secondary, let's say, some secondary line underneath here, like fantasy and enemies here with monsters. It could be related to monsters, it could be having superpowers, okay, relating to fantasy here. So we are expanding this universe. There are many words that we haven't touched, like, for example, cowboys, okay, for example, or Cyclops. We haven't touched those because it's not relevant for this specific theme that we want to say, okay? We could mix this with Greek mythology. We could make one of the enemies a Cyclops, but it is not my idea at the moment. It is not what I want. I'm more interested in samurais, classic strictness, okay? All about fantasy, about science fiction, maybe. My character is a lion, okay? I could play and explore different types of lion, or female, male, how I'm gonna draw him is gonna be wearing samurai clothes. It's gonna be like a Ronin, okay? The concept of samurai is very wide. It's gonna be Ronin. It's gonna be like a officer from the government, for example. What it's gonna be? But then secondary line in here, darkness, nature. Maybe the nature is contaminated, is polluted with darkness because fantasy. Okay, so we do these kind of connections there. All of this is going to be adventure. My main theme is going to be adventure here, okay? So, as you can see, this is Brainstorm. The next step for this is basically a cleanup. So you can take all these words, for example, and have them a little bit more, let's say, clean, so you understand what is happening here. So it is going to be a samurai story, for example. That's what we decided. Samurai story is going to be an adventure. It's going to be an adventure. Our enemy, or our contrary, okay, nemesis, let's say it, our thing to defeat here in this story is going to be darkness, nature, okay? There's going to be some sort of environments that we will have to design, and they are contaminated by darkness, okay? It could be a forest that we didn't select here, but it could be forest, it could be lakes, it could be a city, it could be a town, a ghost town, okay? So we can keep exploring this brainstorm until we define everything. We can keep adding more words, we can keep expanding it and seeing who is going to be the enemy, how many enemies we can have, how long the story we want to have, what references can be. My enemies are going to be maybe connected to Lord of the Rings, and it could be something like orcs, demons, monsters, okay? So all of these words that we have marked here are going to be creating this. As you can see, all my words, as I said at the beginning, are very focused. I'm gonna mark here as well lion, I'm gonna mark here fantasy and sci-fi, biomechanic, for example, biomech. Like, all the words I put here is because are things that I like. Maybe someone is gonna pay you to develop this, so you are gonna have to come and they will tell you, my story needs to be about, I don't know, orphanage with a kid with superpowers, that when the kid is growing is gonna have superpowers, and then you will have those keywords. You will have kid with superpowers, orphanage, okay? That means a lot of words from orphanage that you can extract from there. Another word from superpowers that you can, what type of superpower is going to be? It's going to be elemental power, like fire, water. It's going to be something more like mechanical, like he can control machines. It's going to be something more natural, like for example, he can talk with animals. So that will be another way of brainstorming already, starting from an idea that someone, like in this case, a boss, your boss has given you. So you as a creative, as a concept artist, as an art director, you can start developing and creating, okay? Here in the channel, as I said, this is for beginners. We have seen basic, very basic, how to draw faces, how to draw bodies, how to explore panels, how to learn the different types of panels in comics, for example, in stories, in graphic novels. We have learned as well the line of action. All of these videos I put there in the playlist. And this on how to brainstorm and take these notes and, sit a little bit until you define who is your character gonna be, and then you can jump into the step of starting designing the face, like it's the first video of this playlist, for example, okay? Or how the body is gonna be, on how this lion, humanized lion that we have selected is gonna look, okay? And then you can explore lions, you can explore games, for example, like Cyberpunk 77, for example, to see the style of biomechanics. You can check, for example, Off the Grid video game to see in that game how they use the limbs, artificial limbs that they can modify and put together and make a stronger weapon, for example. If this lion is going to be a samurai, the sword, for example, is going to be attached to the arm, or it is going to be something that, like, for example, in Power Rangers, that you can extract from your own body, or like in Robocop, that he can, the gun, hide it in his thigh, and then the thigh, it's opening like psh, and then the gun is there hidden, like it's like a compartment, like in a moto, for example. So all of these things is the next step to explore it, okay? So this will be just a very, very basic idea of Brainstorm, but as you can see, we can keep playing with this, keep exploring, and then you write this couple of information, you present it to the person who has asked you to develop an idea for him or for her, and they will say, yes, I like this, or oh no, I don't like, I have phobia for lions, I would prefer if you play with the idea of other animals, okay? I'm gonna go for more another type of animal, for example. I want to try with giraffes, or I want to try with zebras. I'm going to be explore, no? For example, he's saying to you, don't pick a lion, but pick any other animal from the savannah, for example. And then you're going, okay, so I'm going to do this other animal. And then you can restart this process or extend this process into thinking about giraffes or zebras or whatever animal you picked. And this, as you can see here, as you go, you are talking, and now here in 20 minutes, in 25 minutes, we have already an idea for a story about a samurai that is going to be a lion with some sort of mechanic limbs that maybe can extract his katana, his weapon, from maybe the side of his arm, because he doesn't have one of the arms, is an extension of himself, biomechanically designed, and he's going to be fighting darkness, he's going to be moving around a mystic land, or in this adventure, and he's moving around nature. I marked nature means I am not going to make him going into big cities like New York, okay? This is going to be a fantasy scenario. If he reaches maybe a town or a settlement or a village, it's okay, because I marked nature. I could play as well with the idea of big cities, okay? Like in Tales of Alethrion, these guys, they adventure, everything is more epic, travel, more fantasy, but in some specific moments, they go to some sort of more modern cities, and they can dance, they can party, and they can find bounties to hunt and everything. So, you need to explore. And the question here, very important question is, how can you have these ideas? How can you put all these words together and start making a story? We consume art every single day, every single time of the day, okay? So we are watching movies, reading books, watching series as well. If you have a TV, watching advertising on TV. If you move around a big city or a small city, you will see things happening around you. Observe everything around you. Read, watch movies, buy books, have books at home even if you don't have time to read them, because at some point you will read it, okay? Read comics as well. Have knowledge of things. You see a documentary about lions, that we are talking a little bit about lion now. Sit and watch the documentary about lions to see how the male behaves, how he fights, how the females hunt, how the cubs behave. See in this scenario what can you take from there for yourself. Even if it is not for a specific project, have your own, let's say, library of information. Take notes in your sketchbook, take notes in a Word document that you're going to be accumulating through the years, and then from that paper, it's going to be a massive brainstorm that you can draw any type of topic that you want, in any type of thing. When you're watching a movie, you're going to see something, a behavior of a character that you like. Take note, okay, at some point I may do a character that behaves like this police officer, or behaves like this ninja, or ooh, look at this movement in superpower that this guy using fire has done. I'm going to take some notes because at some point, I may do a character with fire, and it could be interesting not to copy, but to reinvent the concept of fighting with fire for my character, okay? For example, okay? Like here, with the darkness, we could develop a whole line of superpowers with the darkness. Is this gonna be some sort of dark color power that is gonna be engulfing things like in One Piece with Marshall D. Teach Blackbeard? Maybe. Is this gonna be a darkness that is basically like a contamination from nature, that nature is contaminated by man, for example, from industrial, or from the science fiction that we mark here, science fiction, part of the story? At some point, we want to say that, ooh, this same biomechanic people that is helping, like this lion, to have his limb and be able to fight, maybe on the other side he's doing as well some dark business, contaminating the nature, and the lion doesn't know, and the lion at the end realizes that by fighting and defeating these kind of areas with darkness, because there may be some kind of creatures that are contaminated as well, and they are corrupted, he needs to clean this area, to cleanse this area. Maybe he goes back to the beginning, for example. We need to explore here Joseph Campbell's The Hero's Journey, and how he's going to do the circle that we talk about this book a lot here in the channel, how he's going to do the hero's journey. Is going to be a good guy? Is he going to be an anti-hero? Have a little bit of a darkness with himself as well, because he is part biomechanic. All of those things are things to explore, but as you can see, as I said, like in one video here, we were able to brainstorm one idea, to define more or less a theme, to have more or less a genre as well, and to be able to start going more into our story, okay? This, let's say, exercise can have different levels, as you can see. We can do an initial one, that it was these notes and these markings. Secondary one, to define. Tertiary one, to start going into details of the character, of the environments, of the enemies, and we can expand it as much as we want. You can limit this to a 1-page story, 10 pages story, 7 books saga. It's entirely up to you. But, as you can see, I think with this video, you should be able to create something like this on your own from the references that you have in your daily life. Okay? You are a baker, so you want to write a story about a bakery, and maybe your bones have superpowers, or something weird is going on in this bakery. It's going to be about mystery, so you will write all these clues, all these keywords. Okay? You can call these keywords to define what is going to be this story, about who, when, why, how. All these questions are very, very important. Sometimes you will see stories, you will watch a movie, and you will not be able to find why this is happening, how can this be happening, when are we actually seeing this, what time is this, futuristic, in the past, in ancient Greece, in, I don't know, feudal Japan. When is this happening? Is this happening in a totally fantastic world? So all of these things are very important. So feel free to, in the comment section, drop any question that you may have, any ideas, or if you have done this while we were talking, write as well what you have found here in this exercise, what is your story about, or what are you going to be developing, and let's open conversation. I am happy to help. I'm happy to brainstorm as well with you and talk. This is what I do. I create ideas. I take things, mix them together, and have something new. And everything is done like that. Like I said this 1,000 times. Dragon Ball is, it has always been the top of the top of manga culture. Okay, very important in every part of the world, basically. And that story is original story, yes, but there is a lot of references from Journey to the West, okay, when we have the Monkey King and everything traveling and going to the mountain, blah, 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 blah. So, everything can be reinvented and everything can be blended into a new story and a new reality, okay? So that's why I'm very curious always about the world around me, the museums, the libraries, the things happening on the street, the people walking, how someone is walking, how my lion is going to be walking if he's strict. For example, Samurai Champloo is an anime as well, that you can see how a samurai can be very strict or can be very rough fighting. It's two different characters, but both of them are samurai. But how the spectrum of character changes depending on the character of the character. Okay? So this is very interesting. This is, I think, my favorite part, one of my favorite parts of creating, because it's constantly new things. So we finish for today. Okay, I'm going to sign here at the bottom. This is DavidViadel23, DavidViadel23. You can say it as you want, and this is the Mandragora game. I hope you liked it, this concept. I hope you learned something. As I said, feel free to ask any question in the comment section, and I will be putting more things like this, that I give you tips on how to do things, basic things that you can do at home with pencil and paper. I'm going to be adding more to this collection of learn how to draw in this concept, how to create, and ask for things as well that you want to see in this playlist, that you want to learn, or you may struggle. I have a couple of things that I still want to create for this playlist that I'm going to be uploading slowly. And yeah, but I invite you to open conversation, okay? So I hope you had a nice time here. Thank you very much, and see you in the next one. Bye.